Welcome to Bhagavad Gita overview. Today we are overviewing chapter 10 of the Bhagavad Gita, which is called the Vibhuti Yoga. So once again welcoming everyone. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayamudirayed Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Mande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidhinamine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadigaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So, beginning with chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga, the opulence of the Absolute. In the 9th chapter, Krishna ended the chapter on the 34th shloka by saying Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto. How important it is to fix the mind on Krishna. And in chapter 10, Krishna is going to speak about his opulences on which the bhakta can fix his mind, and how to remember Krishna when we see opulent things, beautiful things around us in this world. In chapter 9, it speaks about how it is important to become a pure devotee of the Lord. So in chapter 10, by hearing Krishna's opulences, all his Aishwaryas, all his Vibhutis, it will increase our bhakti for Krishna. In chapter 10, there are a total of 42 shlokas, and in the first section, that is about the first 7 shlokas, Krishna speaks about how difficult it is to understand him. It's impossible to understand Krishna, and it is one understanding at least to have that Krishna cannot be fully understood. That itself is a great understanding in itself. And then in this chapter, shloka 8, 9, 10 and 11, 4 shlokas, they constitute what we call the Chatushloki Gita. That means this is like the essence of the Bhagavad Gita. It is called the Chatushloki. We will be discussing that as well. And then from there until 18th shloka, it is about how Arjuna is accepting Krishna's position, and Arjuna is requesting Krishna that I want to hear more about your Aishwaryas. And then till the end of the chapter, Krishna is explaining his opulences, his Vibhutis. So this is what we are going to see in this chapter, that is chapter 10. So the chapter is beginning by Krishna telling Arjuna, listen again, O mighty armed Arjuna, because you are my dear friend, for your benefit I shall speak to you further, giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. From the 7th chapter itself, Krishna is explaining how his different energies are acting, And in this chapter, Krishna is now going to begin and explain his specific opulences to Arjuna. So, this he says, I am going to speak to you further because you are my dear friend. Again, you see, the qualification to understand the Bhagavad Gita, that's very, very important. There is a very close link between hearing and understanding. There is a close link between hearing and understanding. That is, when you hear something and when you are able to apply it, that denotes understanding. Hearing simply keeping it, that is not understanding, that is information. So, many so-called Gita Pandits, they have information. They do not have understanding. Our idea in studying Bhagavad Gita is to understand Bhagavad Gita. So, for that, we have to establish Krishna, devotion to Krishna as the founding principle. With that, only we will be able to understand. Because Krishna is saying to Arjuna that I am giving knowledge that is better than what I have already explained. You see? So what is it that Krishna is going to speak? Krishna says that neither the hosts of Devatas nor the great sages know my origin or the opulences. For in every respect I am the source of the Devatas and the Rishis. You see? It is impossible to understand Krishna's source. Why? Because Krishna is the source. Krishna is the Adi Moola, it is called. This famous prayer by Gajendra, the elephant, we already spoke about Gajendra when he was in distress. He is calling, he is addressing the Lord as Adi Moola. That means he is the beginning. He is the source of everything. You see? And Krishna now says that he who knows me as the unborn, as the beginningless, as the supreme Lord of all the worlds, he only, undeluded among men, is freed from all sins. This getting free from sins by knowing Krishna is a theme that runs through the Bhagavad Gita, if you notice. Krishna speaks about it even in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. That is, become sinless by understanding Krishna. In chapter 4, Krishna says, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. No? Krishna says that if one understands that Krishna's Janma and Krishna's karma are all divyam, all divine, that is, Krishna's appearing and Krishna's activities are divine, such a person does not, having understood that, he will not take birth in this world again. So, understanding about Krishna is very important for us to become liberated from this material platform. And then Krishna goes on to describe how all the wonderful qualities that the living entities possess are actually coming from Krishna only. So Krishna says, intelligence, knowledge, freedom from doubt and delusion, forgiveness, truthfulness, control of the senses, control of the mind, happiness and distress, birth, death, fear, fearlessness, non-violence, equanimity, satisfaction, austerity, charity, fame and infamy. All these various qualities of living beings are created by me alone. Krishna says, Buddhir buddhimatam asmi, tejas tejasvinamaham. And Krishna even says that chalam chalayatam asmi. That means somebody is a cheat, is a very good cheat. Krishna says, I am the cheating propensity inside him. That means, like our Srila Prabhupada says, whatever we find either good or bad, the origin is Krishna. Nothing in this world can manifest which is not in Krishna. So, we must understand that anything that you see, it is there in Krishna. But the difference is that, what is the difference? In Krishna, everything is in the pure state. And the same thing, when you see the reflection of it in this material world, it is contaminated. Like love, pure love is there in Krishna. Its contaminated reflection is what we call as lust. You see, which is mistaken for love in this world, which is nothing but lust. You see, that's one example that we can give. So, everything is there in Krishna because he is the absolute truth. You see, so whatever we see in this world is actually nothing but an opulence of Krishna. That too, it is a very infinitesimal, it is a very minute reflection of Krishna's opulence that we see in this world actually. Anything that looks very great, very big, very successful, you name it. Great beauty, great strength, great fame, everything you take, it is all simply a very, very tiny reflection of what is there in Krishna. You see? But seeing the opulences, seeing the beauty in a flower, seeing the power of, say, an elephant, or seeing the height of the waves in the sea, or seeing a beautiful rainbow on the sky, or seeing how wonderfully the rain is pouring down, the devotee is able to remember Krishna in all these things. You see? So this is what is meant by saying that seeing Krishna everywhere. When you take a flower, its original fragrance, just imagine. And the color of each flower, there are multitudes of flowers that we know of, that we don't know of, the wild ones, the ones that we see in a garden. Just see one flower, just take the same rose, different roses from the same rose plant, everything will look different. You see? There will be a slight, modulation in the shade, something. And how that is possible? Everything is the opulence of Krishna. So this is how Krishna says that when fix your mind on me, when Krishna says, in this chapter Krishna is giving us the opportunity to remember Krishna by seeing all the wonderful things that are around us. You see? And then Krishna goes on to say, the 7 great sages and before them, the 4 other great sages and the Manus, all of them come from me, born from my mind, and all the living beings populating the various planets descend from them. So, Krishna speaks about how he is the original Pitamaha, He is actually Param Pitamaha, and from him all the progeny has come after Brahma. This is how that entire Srishti that we call as Sarga and Visarga, everything is happening from Krishna. Krishna is the source. And even these great sages, even the Brahma's initial sons, even they don't understand Krishna. You see? Even Brahma and Shiva, they say that we can't understand Krishna fully. We already discussed how Brahma was bewildered when he saw Krishna as a small boy, sharing his lunch with other Gopa boys, all cowherd boys. They are sitting and sharing their lunch. And that is when Brahma got this, he got bewildered, thinking that could this be that, Adi Mula, that Supreme Lord that I am worshipping every day morning? He could not. He is completely bewildered. You see, same thing, a similar history with Lord Shiva and the Supreme Lord. When the Lord did his Mohini Murti Avatara and bewildered all the Asuras and gave the Amrita to the Devatas. So Lord Shiva was not present when this whole thing happened. And then Lord Shiva, he told Mahavishnu that I haven't seen this Mohini Murti, And then the Lord, okay, you want to see my Mohini Rupa, you can see. And then Shiva became enamored by the beauty of Mohini Murti. And then by the time Shiva came back to his, normal self, he told the Supreme Lord, oh, you have bewildered me also. You see? So even the topmost personalities that we can think of, they are bewildered by Krishna. So it is not so easy to understand Krishna. And as I said in the beginning, the understanding that one cannot understand Krishna fully, that itself is an understanding. You see? So, but like Krishna says here, one who is convinced of this opulence and mystic power of mind engages in unalloyed devotional service. Of this there is no doubt. That is clearly stating that knowing the Aishwaryas and the Vibhutis of Krishna will automatically fix that knower in Krishna Bhakti. You see? And also Arjuna is requesting Krishna that, you please describe all about yourself. So, that is what Krishna is doing. And then, from the 8th verse onwards, as we said earlier, it is going to speak about summarizing the entire thing that what Krishna is speaking. So, the 8th verse goes like this. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Krishna says, I am aham sarvasya prabhavo. I am the source of everything, all spiritual and material worlds. Matta sarvam pravartate. Everything is emanating from me and working after emanating from me. Iti matva bhajante mam buddha. Those wise men who know this perfectly, they engage bhava samanvitaha. They are engaging in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. You see? So, this sort of encapsulates Krishna and his devotee. Krishna and the Jiva who knows Krishna. Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan, is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And it is not only Krishna says this in Bhagavad Gita. Throughout the Vedic literature, we will find so many great personalities speaking about Krishna in these very same lines. And whoever can understand Krishna's supremacy, Krishna's Aishwarya, Krishna's Vibhutis, from his Guru will worship Krishna with lot of love and attention. You see? And knowing the greatness of Krishna actually leads us to fully surrender. And when you surrender, that will be followed by love. You see? So, how is it that the devotees are worshipping Krishna with all their hearts? So, in the next verse, in the next shloka, shloka number 9, Krishna says, Mat chitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. Very wonderful verse. Mat chitta madgata prana bodhayantah parasparam. The thoughts of my pure devotees dwell in me. Their lives are fully devoted to my service and they derive great satisfaction and bliss from always enlightening one another and conversing about me. Mat chitta, in my chitta, in my heart. Who is there? My pure devotees are there. Madgata prana. And for them, for the devotee, Madgata prana, Krishna says that I am their life. Krishna is the life of his devotees. It's like if a devotee is separated from Krishna, he is like fish out of water. You know? And what is nourishing their lives? Krishna is their life. And what is it that is nourishing that the life energy? Kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. They are always engaged in kathayantaha, speaking about Krishna. Krishna says, no, enlightening one another and conversing about me. Kathayantascha mam nityam. So sharing Krishna katha among themselves, tushyanti cha ramanti cha. That is, they are becoming happy and making others happy. Tushyanti and ramanti. You know. So this is how the devotee lives. For him, Krishna is his life. And how is he nourishing that life? By speaking and hearing Krishna Katha. And Krishna Katha also involves speaking about Krishna's instructions as well as speaking about Krishna's Leelas. Okay? So even when we speak, when we discuss Bhagavad Gita, that is also Krishna Katha. Why? Because it is Bhagavad Gita, something that is spoken by Krishna. So this is also Krishna Katha. When we are hearing and speaking Srimad Bhagavat Puran, that is also Krishna Katha. And now that Krishna is describing how his devotees are worshipping him, next he speaks about how he reciprocates with such devotees. So in the 10th shloka of this chapter, Krishna says, Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayanti te. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. The priti purvaka bhajana, that is very, very important. That is with priti, with lot of love, they are doing the bhajana. Bhaja means serving, devotional service. And what are they doing? Satata yuktanam, always constantly devoted to serving Krishna. To those, what Krishna says, dadami buddhi yogam tam, I give them the buddhi by which yena mam upayanti te, they can come to me. So, who is giving the intelligence, who is giving the understanding by which we can go back to Krishna? Krishna only is giving the understanding by which we can go back to Krishna. So, Krishna is understood by the devotees not only from enlightening each other through Krishna Katha. Enlightening each other through Krishna Katha, that happens through the medium of the devotees, through the medium of satsanga. When one sadhu is speaking, when the other one is hearing, there is Krishna Katha, Shravanam and Kirtanam. Somebody is speaking, somebody is listening. Okay. Other than that, here now Krishna says that Krishna is also directly revealing himself in the heart of the devotee. You see. So, this buddhi, dadami buddhi yogam tam means Krishna is directly inspiring each one of us. You know. So, Krishna is basically as Chaitya Guru, he is sitting in each and every one of our hearts. And the Guru, the Mantra Guru who is actually manifesting in front of us is also manifesting because of Krishna's mercy as the representative of Krishna. So, externally, the Mantra Diksha Guru is inspiring us with Krishna Katha, and internally Krishna himself as Chaitya Guru, he is inspiring us as well. So, this is how we say, no, God helps those who help themselves. And you would have heard so many different interpretations for that. Now here Krishna says, what does he say? All of us, we have all been, since time immemorial, we are all languishing in ignorance, you know. So actually, are we capable of achieving this inspiration, this knowledge, this realization? Seek how Krishna helps. So in 11th shloka, Krishna says, Tesham evanu kampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayamyatma bhavasto jnana deepena bhasvata. So, now Krishna speaks about Tesham eva anukampartham, to show them special anukampa, mercy. You know, anukampa is something that you feel so deep in your heart. That is the word anukampa means. You know, we can say empathize with somebody. Anukampa very literally means that if your heart, there is a pain in your heart, when I feel that same pain in my heart, that is I feeling anukampa for you. So, Krishna has anukampa towards all of us. You see. Why? Because he is sitting in our heart. You see. So, Krishna says to show them special mercy, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. So, tesham eva anukampartham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayami. This tamaha, this darkness that is ajnanajam, born out of ignorance. This darkness is born out of ignorance, and he says, what? Jnana deepena bhasvata. So I am personally lighting that lamp of knowledge in the darkness of the ignorance of the Jivatma. So the Jivatma, you and me, the soul, is languishing in this darkness that is caused by our ignorance, and Krishna, because he is having anukampa towards us, that we are trying to know him, that we are trying to understand him. So Krishna takes special mercy on us, takes special mercy on us, and he decides that let me give them some knowledge by which they can understand me. So like that, Krishna is directly giving this transcendental knowledge and removing our ignorance. This is how Krishna is reciprocating with his devotees' service. You see, without devotion towards Krishna, we will never understand Krishna. And this will be explained further by Krishna when we reach towards the end of Bhagavad Gita. Actually, without having devotion for Krishna, you cannot understand Krishna. Even such great personalities cannot understand Krishna. So what is our position? But how to become devoted to Krishna, that is this yoga karmasu kaushala. You see, how do I develop this devotion? How do I develop this attraction towards Krishna? You see, that happens when we are discussing. That is what Krishna speaks so much about. Kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. By constantly speaking about this personality. You see, this is something that we all know of. We all discuss with each other. Friends, among friends generally, we discuss with each other about our favorite cricket star, about our favorite film star. We talk about how great he is, how wonderful he is, what a fantastic actor he is, or what a fantastic player he is. And when one guy speaks about one of his achievement, the other person will speak about another achievement, and both people who are discussing, they will feel great happiness. Right? Yes or no? So this is what, on a normal material level, this is how people spend their time. So, and actually that is of no use. Why? Because only he is making all the money. We simply speak about it and waste our time. And we also waste our time by giving them our time. You see, whether giving our time in terms of giving our time and money away in terms of watching their movie or watching their match, and also wasting time in that. Who is the gainer? They are the gainer. What do we have? We don't have anything. You see, they don't even recognize us, right? But when we discuss about Krishna, this is the great difference. When we discuss about Krishna, Krishna recognizes us. And he reciprocates. But our favorite film star, our favorite football star, our favorite cricket player, he does not recognize us and he does not reciprocate at all. You see, at best he will wave at us without even understanding who we are. That's all what we get as gratification. But with Krishna it is so different. Why? Because Krishna is all knowing, and when we show some amount of love, even if it is a little amount of love that we show Krishna, Krishna accepts it wholeheartedly and Krishna reciprocates. So it is not that knowledge about Krishna will just come like that. It doesn't come like that. It comes only when we are expressing our love. It comes only when we are serving Krishna with love. You see, we all know what it is to serve with love. We are all engaged in serving our families with love, our children with love, our parents with love, our families with love, right? And to some extent we get reciprocation, to some extent we may not get reciprocation, to some extent we may get happiness, and to a greater extent we may get disappointed also. But with Krishna, it doesn't happen like that. So, this is how understanding Krishna and how he reciprocates with his pure devotees. We will understand we can take umpteen number of examples of how Krishna reciprocates even a very little something offered to Krishna. We all know about how Sudama got all the riches in the world simply by offering Krishna some flat rice, some poha, right? And without understanding the mood of Sudama's offering to Krishna, we all think that we will offer flat rice every day and expect that, some huge palace will be built for us. Not like that. But Sudama's only desire was to just go and see Krishna, his very dear friend. And when he was going to see him, because Sudama was so poor, he had nothing else to offer. You see? And Sudama was actually making the very best offering that he could. And Krishna accepted it with so much of happiness. You see? So, Krishna is always ready and willing to reciprocate. It is always said, the Acharyas always say that if I take one step towards Krishna, Krishna is willing to take 10 steps towards me. You see? Because Krishna's love for me is so much more than my love for Krishna. You see? So, when we are surrendering to that all-knowing, all-powerful Supreme Person called Krishna, that is the time when we actually feel secure. That is the time when we will actually feel peace. You see? When we take shelter of Krishna, that is when we will actually understand what is security, what is peace, everything. And devotee, when you become a devotee of Krishna, you will understand that all things that are happening to us is the mercy of Krishna. And nothing will happen to me. Prahlad Maharaj is the greatest example, And his adversary at that time was actually the most powerful man in the 3 worlds. Hiranyakashipu, even though his father, finally the father decided that this son is actually a Kuladrohi because he is taking the side of my greatest enemy named Hari. So he said, I will use all my might and I will finish him off. But Prahlad, because he was always chanting Narayana, 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 he is absolutely not worried. Because he was so confident that nothing will happen to me as long as my Lord is there with me. You see? So that is why when eventually Hiranyakashipu tries every which way to kill Prahlad and he is unsuccessful. And finally he is brought back again to Hiranyakashipu and he asks him, from where do you get your strength? And Prahlad very simply, smilingly he says, from wherever you are getting your strength, oh my dear father. Asuravarya Dehina, he calls him, you are the greatest among the Asuras, but let me just tell you, your source of energy, your source of Shakti and my source of Shakti are the same, that is Sriman Narayana. You see? So, that is what you get from faith. You see, when your faith is so strong, it builds your self-confidence, it gives you the strength like nothing else. That gives you the actual sense of security. You see? So, this is what Krishna wants us to do. And when we do that, Krishna reciprocates by giving us knowledge about Krishna. So that will eventually cement our relationship with Krishna on a much better grounding. And so now Arjuna will speak. Finally, Arjuna will now say, in the 12th and the 13th verse, Arjuna will now call Krishna, Param Brahma, Param Dhama, Pavitram Paramam Bhavan, Purusham Shashwatam Divyam, Adidevam Ajam Vibhum, Ahustvam Rashayas Sarve, Devarshir Naradastata, Asito Devalo Vyasa, Swayam Chaiva Bravishime. Arjuna will call now Krishna, you are Param Brahma, you are Param Dhama, you are Pavitram, you are Paramam, you are the ultimate abode, you are the purest, the absolute truth, you are eternal, Purusham Shashwatam, you are transcendental, Divyam, Adi Devam, you are the original personality, Ajam, you are the unborn, Vibhum, you are the greatest. And he says, not only that, Ahustvam Rishayas Sarve, all the great rishis like Devarshi Narada and Asita, Devala, Vyasa, all of them confirm this. And you yourself, Swayam Chaivam Bravishime, you yourself have told me this. And then Arjuna says, please, I totally accept as truth whatever you have told me. Neither the Devatas nor the Asuras can understand your personality. Indeed, you alone, yourself, by your own internal potency, O Supreme Person, origin of all, Lord of all beings, God of gods, Lord of the universe. So, Arjuna is now completely understood his position. You see, all this while Arjuna was still, he accepted Krishna as Guru and everything, but then still some familiarity is there. And now Arjuna is saying, now I understand everything. I understand my position, I understand your position. So Krishna says, please tell me in detail your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. And he is asking Krishna, how shall I constantly think of you? How shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered? So, although Krishna has explained to Arjuna that Aham Sarvasya Prabhava, still Arjuna wants some more information. Why? Because Arjuna wants to think of Krishna. You see? So, when Krishna says Aham Sarvasya Prabho, yes, I am the source of everything. Okay. But then when Krishna himself says some more things, about his own vibhutis, his own greatness, it makes that much easier for us to remember Krishna in all those different ways. You see? And Krishna, now Arjuna is going to tell Krishna that the devotee, how he is placed, Arjuna says to Krishna that I am never satiated in hearing about you. You see? Normally, in the material world, we are never satiated with anything that we get. We always want more. And that is the source of our misery, right? Because I want more and I am not getting as much as the next door guy has got. Although what I have got is much more than what I deserve or much more than what I can use or enjoy, but still I am miserable because the neighbor got more than me. You see? So, never become satisfied. But here the devotee, Arjuna is saying, I am never satiated in hearing about you. The more I hear, the more I want to taste the nectar of your words, you see. So, that is purely, now Arjuna says, see, you keep on speaking about your Aishwarya. Why? Because the more I hear, the more I want to hear. So, devotee is also, the bhakta is also not satiated fully. But his being not satiated fully is actually giving him more happiness. See, this is the difference between the Krishna Bhakta and the normal Joe. You see, that is the greatest difference. So then Krishna says, okay, I will now speak to you about all the splendorous manifestations, but only those which are very, very prominent, because Krishna says, actually my Aishwaryas are limitless. So then in the next so many verses, Krishna will speak in very sankshipta manner, in an essence type. Krishna will speak about his opulences. Krishna says, I am the Paramatma, seated in the heart of all living entities. I am the beginning, I am the middle, I am the end of everything. Of the Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of the lights, I am the radiant sun. Of the Maruts, I am Marichi. And among the stars, I am the moon. Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Of the demigods, I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in the living beings, I am the living force or consciousness. Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and Rakshasas, I am Kubera. Of the Vasus, I am Agni. Of the mountains, I am Meru. Of all the priests, Arjuna, know me that I am Brihaspati. Of the generals, I am Kartikeya. And of the water bodies, I am the ocean. Of the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Of all the vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Om Ityaksharam Brahma. Of all the yajnas, Krishna says, I am the chanting of the holy name. Yajnanam japa yajñosmi. And he says, Sthavaranam Himalaya. Of all the unmovable things, I am the Himalaya. Of all the trees, I am Ashwathanam. I am the Ashwatha Vriksha. And among the Devarishis, I am Narada. Among the Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha. And among all the perfect yogis, I am Kapila. Of the horses, I am Uchchaisravas. That was produced during the Kshiramandhana. And then of the elephants, I am Airavata. Among the man, I am the king. Among the weapon, I am the Vajra. Among the cow, I am Surabhi. So like this, he explains, all the most, the greatest among all the species, Krishna says, I am, Among the serpent, I am Vasuki. Among the Naga, I am Ananta. So like that, take anything, Krishna says, out of them he chooses the best and he says, you see, this is me. This is me means what? My opulence you see through him. Like he says, among the Daityas, I am Prahlada. That does not mean Prahlada is Krishna, but you see Krishna's opulence as a devotee, you see in Prahlad the greatest. That is why Krishna chooses Prahlad. Like among birds, Krishna says, I am Garuda. So, like this, he says, of all creations, I am the beginning and the end and also the middle. Of all the sciences, I am the spiritual science of the self. And among the logicians, I am the conclusive truth. So, goes on explaining all these one by one, And then towards the end, Krishna says, of the descendants of Vrishni, I am Vasudeva. And of the Pandavas, I am Arjuna. Of the sages, I am Vyasa. And among all the great thinkers, I am Ushana. Of all the means of suppressing lawlessness, I am punishment. And of those who seek victory, I am morality. Furthermore, Arjuna, I am the generating seed of all existences. There is no being, moving or non-moving, that can exist without me. So, in each one of these things, Krishna says how without him nothing can happen. Like when he says that I am the generating seed of all existences. So this is something where Krishna says that without me nothing is possible actually. That we all think that we are generating progeny, But actually Krishna is the seed giver. Without Krishna giving the seed, no progeny will happen. So, nothing can exist without Krishna. You see? So, this is how the devotee sees the whole world. That is why, that is what it means by saying Krishna everywhere. How do you see Krishna everywhere? Our great Acharya Rupa Goswami Pad says, Krishna Sambandhi Vastuna. Actually, every Vastu, everything that you see in this material world actually has a connection with Krishna. And if you are able to see that connection, you are seeing Krishna everywhere. That does not mean that you see a piece of wood and you think it is Krishna. No, you remember Krishna by thinking that that piece of wood came from a tree. That tree was came out of the seed, like that. So you connect the ultimate source to Krishna. And then Krishna says, Yadyad vibhudimat sattvam srimad urjitameva va tattat eva avagachatvam mama tejo amsha sambhavam. Krishna tells Arjuna, Yadyad vibhudimat sattvam srimad urjitameva va. How is it happening? Mama tejo amsha sambhavam. That everything, Krishna says to Arjuna, please know that all things that are opulent, beautiful and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor. Mama tejo amsha sambhavam. That is, it doesn't take all my tejas to show you all these things. All these splendorous things that you see, it is actually amsha. And then concluding this chapter, Krishna in the 42nd verse, he will tell, this is very, very important verse again. Athava bahunaitena kimnyatena tavarjuna vishtabhyahamidam kritsnam ekamshena stito jagat. He is telling Arjuna, but what need is there, O Arjuna, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Vishtabhyaham, pervading. Imam kritsnam, how eka amshena, that is by a small amsha of mind, stito jagat, this entire jagat, this entire thing that you see constantly changing jagat, everything is manifesting simply from one small amsha of me. Eka amsha. You see, it's like something atomic or subatomic. When we take this size of the amsha, it's like that. And Krishna says, by that much, I am actually showing all these opulences. So, he is telling Krishna, so you don't have to know all these things detailed, just understand that with a single fragment of myself, one amsha, tiny fragment, I pervade and support this entire universe. You see, this is vibhuti. This is what we call opulence. Not what we see, this opulence is nothing. You see? So, this entire thing is, Krishna is pervading this entire material nature, pervading this entire universe simply by one small amsha. And he is telling Arjuna, so simply remember this, that's it. That whatever you see, nothing has existence independent of Krishna. This is the understanding. We are always thinking that we are independent from everything. I am independent, I am, I am this, I am that. But very clearly we understand from this that nothing has any independent existence. Nothing has existence independent of Krishna. If Krishna, without Krishna, nothing is possible. So this is what is once again established by Krishna in chapter 10, Vibhuti Yoga. So thank you very much for your participation. Hare Krishna.